Hello and welcome to this session on validating variables in Python. This is part of the computer science series of videos, and this is a lesson number 4 for programming in Python. Now, what we are going to be doing in today's session is we are going to be having a look at how we can use .upper, .lower and .isdigit to validate different elements of a variable in Python. Now, what I want you to do is firstly consider when you are asked to set a password on Facebook, in Google, or on ProtonMail, or wherever that is, typically what is going to happen is they're going to ask you to enter a password which is between, let's say, 8 and 12 characters, but really your password should be longer. And the first thing it's going to do is it's going to look at what is the number of characters you're using. Is it below the minimum or above the maximum? Now, the other thing which it's going to do is it's going to look at, are you using an uppercase letter? Are you using a symbol? Are you using a number? And are you using a lowercase letter? And this is a concept which we are using in today's video. So if you are one of my students, this video will be viewable from this slide here. If you are not one of my students and you are following this video, you can drop me a message underneath this video and I can give you access to slides. Or if you're also a teacher and want to use this material, drop me a message and let me know. Now, we have some sample code here to get started with today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go across to my REPL file and we're going to start going through this code here. So this program is set up to validate a variable, and at the beginning when we run this here, the prompt which we're getting is, you need to set a password, and that password should follow the format of 1 uppercase letter, followed by 2 lowercase, and then 3 numbers. So if I ignore this rule, and I just enter AAAAA, it should reject this password. And as I've always said to students and people who I teach, the most important thing in programming is, if you are rejecting something, make sure you are explaining the reason why you are rejecting, and in this case, it's a password. So we've said here, 1 uppercase letter, 2 lowercase letters, and 3 numbers are needed when we're setting a new password. So now, if I enter 1 uppercase, 2 lowercase, and 3 numbers, this should be accepted. And it's telling us it took us 2 times to set the password correctly. Now, what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to go through this program with you. So first of all, at the top, we have got an empty one-dimensional list. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be appending the password, once it's been accepted, into this one-dimensional list. Because we're using a while loop, and we know that while loops run forever and ever, we are going to use a Boolean variable, and then we are going to use this Boolean variable to terminate the while loop. We've got a counter set up to 1, so it can look for the number of attempts a user makes when they are entering a password. You can see for me, it took me 2 times to enter it, or set up a new password correctly. Our print prompt, which should be quite straightforward, and then we get down to this section of code here. So firstly, while validate is not equal to true. We know that while validate is not equal to true because we set it to false at the beginning. Therefore, this loop will run forever until we set validate to true. Now, the next thing is we're being asked to enter a password, and I've commented a sample password here. So it could be THI999. This is the format that they are looking for, 1 uppercase, 2 lowercase, and then 3 numbers. Now, this next statement is the most complex part of this program. So here, we are looking at how to validate each character inside the password. So we've got if x0 is equal to x0.upper. Now, what does it actually mean and what does it actually do? So x0, this is looking at the first character inside the password that's entered. You have to remember that Python always starts at 0. So x0 is looking at the variable, and it's looking at the first character here. And it's saying, is it uppercase? The next thing we have is and x1 colon 2. So this is 1 to 2. So this is the next 2 characters. Is x1 to 2 equal to x1 to 2 lower? So it's saying that this condition and this condition both have to be true. It can't be one or either or the other condition, sorry. It's not or, it's and. We need to have both upper and lower both set to true. So position 1 to 2, is it lowercase? In my example here, in the comment, T, capital T, and then lowercase hi follows that format. So the answer would be yes, true, and true. And then the last thing which we have here is and x 3 to 5 is digit. That means, is it a number? And 3 to 5 is characters 4, 5, and 6 inside the password. So everything inside this if statement has to be true in order for the user to continue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run that program again. What happens if I do TT and I break the rule? A, still 6 characters, 1, 2, 3. The second character, which is going to be index 0, is not lowercase. Therefore, when I press enter, this should be rejected. And this is what the index position is looking at inside this variable x, which we have set up. Now, if all of these conditions are true, what we want to do is we want to append that new password into the one-dimensional array which we set up. And if you're new to using arrays, do check out the other videos and lessons that I have recorded on how to use 1- and 2-dimensional arrays. Now, because if this statement is true, what we want to do is we want to end this while loop. And in order to end the while loop, we said at the beginning, while validate is not true, but we're now going to set validate to true because they've entered a password which is accepted. So when I run this program again here, I am going to enter A123, and that while loop is going to end. It's going to tell us that the password's been accepted and the number of tries that it took for us to enter that password correctly. Now, what happens if we enter a password which is not accepted? It's going to go to this else statement. We're going to keep validate as false, which means the loop will repeat. The counter will change from 1 to 2 because counter is counter plus 1. We've then got print entry rejected and try entering a new password again. So this program is going to continue forever and ever until we enter a password that has been accepted. Now, hopefully this concept is nice and clear, and apologies for any background noise. I'm recording in a room which I am not normally in, so I do apologize there. Now, for this next part of the program, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be having a look at a linear search here. So how would we be able to look for data inside a list? How can we search a list? So this next part of the program, we have got a games one-dimensional array set up. We have got found, which is set to false, so that's going to be our Boolean variable. And it's now prompting us on the right-hand side. It's saying, how many games do you want to enter? So I'm going to enter 3 games. I am a fan of GTA. I'm currently playing a Watch Dogs Legion. And I do love a bit of FIFA as well. So now I've entered these 3 games. It's now asking me, it's saying, what game are you looking for? I want to borrow or buy a game from you. Do you have, let's do Gran Turismo. Not a fan of Gran Turismo. Not as good as the earlier versions of this game. So I'm going to enter here. And it says game not found. So basically, what's happened here is we've set up a one-dimensional list. We have asked them how many pieces of data they want to add, and then we have appended each of the games, in this case, to that one-dimensional list. Now, we need to be able to look at how a linear search works. So that basically means, can we find a game or another piece of data which is inside the list? And in order to do this, again, we use a Boolean variable with a while loop. We get it to loop forever, and we say if game name in games. Now, game name is the variable which we're searching against, which is here, and games is that one-dimensional list. And if we enter a game, which is inside the list, it's going to enter the game you searched for is, and this, otherwise, game not found. So this is how a linear search works. It's fairly simple, and it is a very, very important technique in the IGCSE computer science syllabus, because we want to be able to quickly determine, is there a game inside a one or a two-dimensional list? And this is how we would set up that linear search. Now, this is all for today's video, so hopefully variable validation and also linear searches is nice and clear. If you have any questions, I'm just moving my screen recorder for a minute. If you have any questions about these concepts, do obviously let me know. We've been through selection and if before, and I look forward to seeing you in the next part of the lesson soon.